Have you ever thought of like writing books for like older people?
Yeah, I have thought of writing books for older people, and one day I might. But at the moment, all the ideas and all the characters that come along to me involve, young characters with things that I hope young people are going to be interested to read about. And I'm very happy to make that my writing task for now.
What characters do you like except Zelda and the other main character from Den?
Apart from Felix and Zelda, who are really special characters for me, I'm very fond of my cane toad characters. Limpy the cane toad, he's a fairly sort of ugly, warty, slimy character who lives in the northern part of Australia, but he's got a heart of gold, and I've come to like him very much. I like all my characters because I can't write a book until I've become really close friends with the main character.
Why did you pick World War II to write Den and the Once About?
When I set out to write Once and Then, I wanted to write a story about friendship, and I wanted to make it the most powerful, wonderful, nurturing, fun friendship I could. And I thought it would be interesting to take such a wonderful friendship and place it in the middle of some of the most unfriendly behaviour I could discover. And I decided that things don't get much more unfriendly than when there's a war going on.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
How do you think up your characters and like their names and things?
Okay, how do I find names for characters? I go through a very similar process to what I did with my own son and daughter. I've got a book called What to Name Your Baby, and when I get to know a new character in my imagination, at some point, occasionally they bring their name with them, but usually I have to find a name for them, and I just go through my What to Name Your Baby book through lists of names until I find one that feels right for that character.
What was the hardest book to write?
I think my hardest book to write, well, there were two of them actually, and they were two books that I wrote with another author, a very good Australian author called Paul Jennings, and we wrote a book called Just Wicked and another one called Deadly. And I think it's always difficult for two authors who are used to working on their own to find a way of joining their work processes so that they can have as few arguments as possible and get the book written. And we did have quite a few arguments, but I think we ended up writing some books that neither of us could have written on our own, so it was a very worthwhile process, and Paul and I are still good friends.
Was it hard for you to get your first book published?
I was very lucky. Usually it is hard to get a first book published, and most of the other authors I know maybe had to write 3 or 4 books and send them off and have them rejected until finally they found a publisher who would publish one of them. I had a really easy start because I'd written a television film called The Other Facts of Life, and while it was being filmed, a book publisher got hold of the screenplay, thought it would make a good book, and said to me, Morris, if you can rewrite this screen story into a book story and get most of the spelling right, we promise we'll publish it. And that was such a great opportunity that I decided I'd give it a go.
Thank you.
Have you ever written about a problem in your life?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Have I ever written about a problem in my own life? I probably have. For example, in several of my books, one of the problems that characters face is the possibility of one day losing people they love, which I think is a problem that we all have in our lives, and that's certainly, I know how I feel about that, and so I was able to write about how characters feel about it. But generally, the physical nature of the problems in my books aren't from my own life. I can make up physical problems like being shot at in war, or being a refugee, or having your parents' bank go bust. I can make those things up to be more interesting than the things that actually happened in my own life.